Welcome back to another episode of STEM in Stilettos, where we help digital founders really rock out their footprint in the marketplace. I am here today with KT and KK. They are both Karen, hence the initials, and I will be introducing them shortly. Our topic for today is business growth and strategy, passion, purpose, and empowering others through leadership. This is how you know I'm real and I'm not AI. My tongue gets tangled up. This is your host, Sophia Renea Morales, and I am really looking forward to this conversation today. One of the things we'll be discussing in today's conversation is actually what their leadership animals are and what the pitfalls are typically that go with those animals and how they deal with those as they exercise their particular leadership style in their business. So if you would like to play along at home, you can go to leadershippitfallquiz.com and spend 2 minutes basically answering a handful of questions that will give you your leadership style so that you can play along and gain some insight into your strengths and the things that might be holding you back as a leader in business today. So that quiz again is at leadershippitfallquiz.com, and keep that pen and paper close to you because I suspect these ladies are going to drop some amazing gems that you are going to want to write down. So hold that pen paper close as we go through our conversation today. My two guests today are from Australia. And the first, KT, Karen Taylor, is a passionate business leader. She's a co-founder of the SALT Directory and Kx2 Management Group. With a career spanning over 3 decades, Karen has excelled in business strategy, finance, and advocacy for community causes. Her work supports nonprofit startups and charities, a finalist in prestigious awards like the Women in Business Small Champions and the winner of the Stevie Awards Most Innovative Woman of the Year in Business. Karen is also a former competitive athlete who values resilience and emotional intelligence. Again, my authenticity is shining through today. Combining her strategic expertise with a drive for social impact, she empowers businesses and individuals to achieve their full potential while championing meaningful causes. Good to have you with me here, KT. And I will introduce your partner in business, or I almost said partner in crime. I don't know about that. You ladies can reveal or not as you choose. Karen Keynes is a chartered accountant and business partner and co-founder of Kx2 Management Group and the SALT Directory, where she combines her extensive experience in business finance with her passion for supporting companies. With a strong background in strategic planning and financial management, Karen helps organizations build sustainable financial strategies that support their missions. KK is an advocate for Parkinson's disease awareness, driven by her personal connection to the cause. Her career is dedicated to improving financial structures for organizations, particularly those with the aged care and health community, ensuring they can continue making a meaningful impact. Welcome, ladies. So thrilled to have you with me here today.
Thank you.
Hello.
It was very nice to join you.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you ladies with me today. It's always fun when I can have a group-ish discussion. I know our topic today is business growth and strategy, as well as passion, purpose, and strategy. So when you look at women, particularly in male-dominated industries like technology, for example, what do you find is a little bit special about being a woman in a quote unquote man's world? And I'll let you guys like rock, paper, scissors and decide who's going first.
I'll start, and I'm sure KT will have some things to add, and we will probably tag team throughout this whole session with information, but we tend to say the same things just so everybody knows, but in slightly different ways. But yeah, look, I think it is a little bit challenging to be in a male-dominated industry. The perspective that women don't necessarily have the same level of ability to deal with tech or understand tech is a very common thing that we come up against. It is good to note, though, that there are also men in the industry who are not like that and who are very supportive of females in the industry and very encouraging of what we do and how we do it. So there is a range out there. But yeah, as far as people taking you seriously, sometimes it can be something that we've noted as a challenge.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think one of the things that kind of has that at the front of my mind, we've had some shifts in the government over here, and one of the recent moves has been the elimination of the diversity initiatives in the government. And so I think that's caused some angst, if you will, in
Mm.
certain circles. And I'm trying to be a little bit positive around it in terms that at least you know what the company is about, right? You're not going to run into as many situations where it's like, we're going to talk like diversity is our thing, and then we're going to do something different once you get here. There's no longer that talking is no longer incentivized, I think. So that I
Yeah,
think is
sure.
good. You'll know whether they love you for you.
Yes. And that's, I guess that's what we find when we're dealing with clients and potential clients that get us. They relate to us and our backgrounds that we come from with that real operational approach that we have, very much an understanding of their business and what they need to make their business successful, as opposed to just giving them advice and not really having the background to support it necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. KT, can you fill us in a little bit about what KX2 management is about? I know from the pre-screening that you ladies are techies, but let's tell the world.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sophia. What do we do at Kx2 Management Group, KK? We do a lot of digital transformations for clients, sitting on the client side, advocating for them. And it's to ensure that they get operationally what they need in the software platforms that they're looking at installing, improving, upgrading to. There's lots of legacy systems out there that coming to the end of their expiry dates, and it's then we sit with the client to transition them into that new digital space. But just, yeah, like I said, ensuring that it aligns and is best fit for their particular business. And as KK alluded, we are from an operational background, so we understand how the business ticks, but then going, you're actually choosing a software platform that's not going to do any of those things that you want. Or so we are very open at having the discussions with them of suitability, finding the right best fit software, and then helping them install it so that they can just go from go live and have a new BAU, which is business as usual, with the new software platform.
Absolutely. How did you ladies get into this business, and what were some of the challenges for you starting it up?
And KK and I always speak about how over our span of our careers, we've always gravitated to improving efficiencies, upgrading and implementing new systems so that it's simplified, it's more efficient, it's more productive. And we came together, I think we were called accidental project managers in this space. We don't have the qualification for a project manager, but we understand how the whole process ticks and clicks and comes together. And yeah, so I think in the industry it's known as accidental, landed in this space. But again, yeah, don't mind that at all, because it means we come from a different knowledge base and understanding of it, as opposed to this is the book that you read, this is the actions that you take, and this is the outcome you hope for. We just go, throw the book away and let's sit and talk. Let's be genuine and authentic about what you need, what you want, and let's look for the best outcome. Would
I
that be
like
right,
that.
KK?
Yes, and I think to answer your question a bit more, Zafir, about how we came together and how we created KX2, we were working together for the same employer for a year, and we were in an office that we shared, just the two of us, and it became known as the office on campus that people would go to for requesting a song, zenning out, coming and getting their vibe ready and upbeat for the day, or stepping in for their lunch break to have a 5-minute recharge. So we've always sort of, throughout that time frame of working together, we really gelled really well, totally got one another, and had a great relationship that we built in working for that employer. And then a few years later, we remained in touch, and a few years later we came back together and said, hey, we've got to do something that has a bit more impact, in roles where we can be more impactful than what we're doing at the moment working for an employer. And we've both run our own businesses in the past as well, so it wasn't our first foray into our own self-employment, and across all different types of things that we've done before, from bricks and mortar through to e-commerce stores. So we had plenty of experience to bring to the table, and what we landed on was the thing that we've gravitated towards throughout our careers, as Katie mentioned, was that real streamlining, process improvement, upgrading systems or optimizing systems for clients. So that's how we came together, and we love doing it. We're a bit geeky. People think we're a bit crazy when we're in the room and get excited about how we're going to configure costing or HR and payroll, but it really is our
And
jam.
KK's a little bit more geeky than me, just saying.
Okay.
Come on
Geeky
now.
around the finances, I suspect. You might be geeky in a couple of other different areas.
Yeah, definitely geeky in some other things, but
I love that. I love that you call yourself accidental project managers. I did a lot of project management when I was in corporate also. But I never held the official title because it was like the kiss of death at the corporation I was at. If you had project manager in your title, when cost cuts came around, you were the first one on the list. And so my bosses very wisely gave me lots of project management responsibility and then called me something that sounded very operational.
It's a very wise approach.
yeah.
I love that. So, starting out, you mentioned it wasn't your first rodeo and your first step into self employment. I know that first step can be like a serious shock for some people. Looking back on your first foray into self employment, what was the thing that surprised you the most about being the boss?
You got no one to blame.
Darn it.
Good or bad, it all lands with you. And I think maybe if I think right back, it was the responsibility that you then held for others and their livelihoods and their home environments and the ongoing support you provided to them financially by employing them and that. So I think the responsibility, it's a double-edged sword. It's a beautiful thing to be able to support others and provide an environment for employment for them. But it's also then quite scary that if you get it wrong, it doesn't just impact you, it does impact others. So I think that would be one that I sit on and ponder a lot, is the responsibility that you take on, especially when you employ others.
Back to that keeping the
you,
cash
KK,
flowing situation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my thing that keeps me up at night. Yep.
And how about you, KK?
I think for me, it was just about how much work was actually involved in being the everything that I needed in that business, being the marketing person, the finance person, the CEO, the COO, the technical person, product sourcing, procurement person.
The
so there was a lot of
stuff, yes.
there was a lot of different hats, and to the point where I actually created an email address called Many Hats to represent how I was feeling at the time. But yeah, it was definitely a step into a space that was a very steep learning curve. While it's great to have some financial acumen and some business understanding, there's a whole lot more to it when you're trying to do a lot of different things within one business, just yourself. So yeah, very steep learning curve, and very quickly reached out to supportive groups of startups that helped guide and give advice and provide avenues for promotion and things like that. So yeah, lots of learning.
Absolutely. So in terms of like cash flow and staff and that kind of stuff, let's start with cash flow. From the day you hung out your shingle in that very first business, how long before you had a paying client who actually gave you cash?
Great question. You meant how early in the days of the first client? Are we just going to talk about Kx2 and our business endeavors together? Because that was probably, I took a leap of faith on us.
Yeah.
And I walked into I did a sweat lodge, a Native American sweat lodge on a Sunday, and I walked into my employer on the Tuesday and said, yeah, you know what, I'm not happy here, so I'm going to resign. I'm going to leave my job of finance manager, and I'm going to, just leave. And they said, oh, what are you going to do? I said, I have nothing to do, actually. I'm just not happy here, and that's not aligned with me. So I jumped out and spent the next 6 months sitting in KK's lounge room and kitchen, and whilst she was working remotely for another company, but I was doing up all the policies and procedures and all the foundations of the business. And then 6 months later, KK said, I've got to get you out of my lounge room. I better take the leap of faith as well and get this party started. And she did. And But when she jumped ship, which is what I used to say, it's out here, come in the ocean, come swim with me.
Come swim, it'll be fun.
It's
There are
fun, I
dolphins.
promise.
KK says fun, she said it would be, and then she's circled by sharks. But no, when she did, which was about 6 months later, then that was when our first client started. And also we got paid within a week or two with regards to our clients, because we set them up on a structured, here is the price you will pay for what we will provide for you, and the outcomes will be X. And we give them a budgeted approach, like we span it over the time of the project and just get weekly payments, which actually helps them cash flow as well.
Absolutely. There is a lot to be said for that regular influx of cash as you're moving along. We are up on our first break already, ladies. Isn't that exciting? What I would like to do is invite you, if you have not yet, to go out and take Leadership Pitfall Quiz, leadershippitfallquiz.com, and just take 2 minutes over the commercial break here and find out what your leadership animal is. And when we come back, we will talk a little bit more about how that plays into the whole picture of being of service and having purpose and passion and strategy in your business. So hang with us. We'll be right back from the break.
Oh, shout it loud, the world here. Tech is ours and we show no fear. No fear. No fear. No fear.
Welcome back. Thank you for hanging in through the break. This is Sophia Morales, and I am still doing STEM and Stilettos with KT and KK, the ladies from K. And over the break, took the Leadership Pitfall Quiz. That's leadershippitfallquiz.com for those of you who would like to take it at home and play along with us. And so, ladies, would you like to share your results from the quiz? Oh, hold on. KK disappeared. Hopefully she'll rejoin us here shortly. KT, share your
I'm still
experience.
here. Yes. So I got a Renegade Rhino on the results in my quiz.
On your quiz, yes. And
yes.
the typical characteristics of the Renegade Rhino is they have an idea, they have a vision, and they go the frick for it. They don't ask for a lot of input a lot of times from those around them. They take the bit in their mouth and they just run with it. And so one of the drawbacks is perhaps not getting quite as much buy-in as a body might want when you've got like a team of people who have opinions and who maybe don't feel like they've been heard quite as much as they'd like to be heard. That's one of the drawbacks. And the interesting thing, oh, good, she's back. Yay, KK's back. Temporary Zoom glitch.
Made it back in.
So would you like to share your result also, KK?
Renegade Rhino is what mine came out as well.
And how did you feel about that?
A little confused.
Mm-hmm. Tell me why you felt confused, love.
Yeah, because I guess my career and life, my style is probably not been that previously, but I missed, what KT has said to date because I dropped out there for a little bit, but I liked the explanation she gave when we were chatting about how we both ended up being the same. So I don't know if she has shared that yet.
No, I didn't share that.
She has not shared that yet.
No, I haven't. I held back because I wanted to know what you'd say you got. So we both did get Renegade Rhino, and then KK goes, no, that's not me. I'm going to do it again. And comes back with a golden retriever and said, I fit better with that. And I actually had a laugh at her. I said, you can't redo it and manipulate to get the answer that you want. But
now I'm going to interject and say, you know what, that's okay, because part of the discussion that we had before we came back was there are 4 types and leadership is an evolving thing, right?
Yes.
And so we start with what we most naturally gravitate to, and some of us naturally are more like the golden retriever. I just want everybody to be happy. I want to please everybody. And then at some point we run into problems with that burnout or whatever it is, and we go, you know what, I need to approach this differently. differently and we start to make some changes. And some of us, I know I started as a lone wolf. I'm like, don't give me any reports. I don't want to be responsible for anybody's stuff. But as you grow through your leadership journey, you evolve into other types. I for myself became more of an octopus. I had my little tentacles in everything, making sure it's all the way that I wanted. I had my little control freaky phase. I think you mentioned you resonated with one of the other types earlier in your career as well, Katie.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? I think each of them is in all of us. It just depends on what we're allowed to evolve and become stronger in. I definitely think KK's and my journey specifically was a golden retriever and a lone wolf coming together and saying, let's do this. And with a lot of awkward conversations and a lot of honesty and transparency and probably breakdowns on both behalves, we have morphed into both being what I do believe now is the Renegade Rhinos. But it's a great collaboration that we have together, our synergy of our differences and our respect for each other for differences and outcomes has just been brilliant. But yeah, we have evolved probably from the golden retriever and the lone
Very
wolf,
much.
and now we're the Renegade Rhino. So that's all right. I might call that my football team or something.
There you go. Your fantasy football team, the Renegade Rhinos.
I think it's
Love that.
situational as well,
Yeah.
Zafia, depending on the situation that you feel you're in sometimes as to which of those you draw on for strength to support yourself in whatever that situation might be. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I do, and Katie's right, we did, in the time that we have worked together, have had many an awkward conversation, especially in the early days, to really understand each other, understand where the other was coming from, and be very open and transparent about that and providing feedback to one another. And it wasn't always easy to do that, but we made it something that was part of our culture and what we do, which we now also have with our staff that are involved with us as well.
Absolutely. And it sounds like as you evolved into the Renegade Rhino, you actually brought with you some, what I want to say, adaptive traits from where you started. Because people generally who start as the Renegade Rhino, that avenue of communication frequently is not open because they're just so focused on what they want to do. But because you ladies evolved into it together, the sounds like those lines of communication remained open, not just between you, but between yourselves and your staff as well. And I've got to say that makes riding the Renegade Rhino train a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
If you can be heard out.
Yes, for sure.
I love that. That's awesome. So, talk to me, looking back on your journey, have you ever had to fire a client?
Fire a client.
Yeah, they were just more
Fire
trouble
one,
than they were worth.
But certainly KK and I have very in-depth conversations when we do speak to clients and understanding if they're aligned with our true north, because they have to. We're going to spend a lot of time with them. So they have to be aligned with your methodology. They have to respect you. We go through and have a bit of a checklist, don't we, KK, of is the respect there? Is the client actually in need? Are they going to listen? Because you will take some level of control from them. So that's a lot for people to accept and hand over. And so there's been a couple of clients that we've gone, if they say no, that's good.
You know what? That'll work for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work for us, because we can identify, we can actually flip it on its head as well. If there is something that won't work with the client, we like bringing that to the forefront as much as just focusing on all the positives and the windfalls. Because if you can take something that doesn't look like it's going to work and turn it into an asset for the client, it's a really great result. So when we see clients that aren't truly aligned with us, we question why, and then we find out, yep, we'll just let this one go and make their decision and just decline it if they come back to us. Or we'll say, yep, okay, but on the expectations and exceptions of we need this to happen, and we set boundaries. So I think that's really important, and I think that's where the really terminology comes into it, doesn't it, KK? Sure, you've got something to add.
The only thing to add is no, we haven't ever fired a client, But there have been points in some of the client journeys where we have said, okay, this is what we're going to be recommending to the client as to how we move forward from this point. And if they are unable to align with that approach or see the value in that, then are we prepared to move on from working with that client? So we have had a couple of instances where we have felt that point where we have almost,
we might be on the verge of this. Yes.
But we have thankfully been able to work through it, and we do very much, as KT said, tune into that alignment with the client and ensuring the people that we're engaging with are on the same page, that they see value in us and what we do and deliver and bring for them. And then we don't get to that point where we have those sorts of issues of, do we need to do something different here?
Yeah, exactly. And I like
and on
that
an
y'all
emotional
come.
intelligent level, Sophia, sorry, I just want to jump in and say, on an emotional intelligent level, there's usually something else underlining during a project that's created that situation that we get down into the nuts and bolts of.
Yeah, get into the emotional weeds a lot of times. Yeah. People get reactive when you're doing a big project like this because there's a lot of change happening. You're proposing to do something very profound in and within the company, and the company is not this, what I want to say, neutral, apersonal entity. It's a group of human beings.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and it can be a lot.
A lot of threat, fear, change, but then also personal situations that are happening that are not at the workplace, but it does affect the workplace. So really underlining issues there.
Absolutely.
And it's something we're always very aware of as well, because we deal with quite large project teams at times. And people do have whatever's going on in their head or their style and approach to what they do, whether they are used to being in control of their area and their workspace, and we're introducing something new that means that they are no longer feeling like they're in control.
In control, yes.
Yeah. So that can be quite confronting for people, and we always identify that and then identify the best way for us to work with that person so that they don't feel so frightened or afraid of that feeling of disconnect that comes with it. So yeah, there's lots of different things that fall into that emotional intelligence aspect. And
I love that you ladies have brought up emotional intelligence, because I know a lot of times I myself have felt like going into the office, oh man, I feel like so much trash, and now I have to put on this professional mask as I walk in. Talk about managing your emotions under some of these extreme situations where there's a migration, it's maybe not going well, or something terrible is happening at home and you're coming into the office and dealing with this. Talk about how you've learned to work with that situation.
And don't get us wrong, we've been emotional in situations, but you got to take the emotion out of everything. You fuel it with your emotion. So if somebody is arcing up, getting angry, getting agitated, getting frustrated because they're losing control, like KK said before, of something that I know my job is really important because I do this. And if you take that away, what am I? You're devaluing me.
Am I still good here?
Yes. And then the fear sets in, and we've seen people with rednecks and they get shaky voices and everything.
And bulging veins. And
And if you become reactive to that with your own emotion, it fuels it, and then it just escalates into more than it needs to be. Whereas if you stop, have a think about what are you actually saying? Why are you having this reaction? Let me understand what you think is happening here so that I can come to you with supporting words and language to make you not feel that. So if it's fear of your job, and then because if somebody goes, I'm threatened, I'm going to lose my job, that means I can't put my kids through school. That means I can't go home and support and pay my bills. And oh my God, I've got Rego next
I might
week.
lose my car, or
Yes. So you sit there and you can address the elephant in the room sort of thing by just going, what we've found in situations like this, like we remove ourselves from it as a person and just go, what we find in these situations is when somebody's told things like that, they might think this is the path that's going to happen. And it's not. It really isn't. What it's just going to do is make some things more efficient for you, which gives you time to spend on other tasks that you would be, one, enjoying, really good at learning something new. So it's just the language that you use in those situations to appease their emotional reaction and not being emotionally reactive to it. I think that's the best way KK and I have handled situations in that. And then if there's a way that either of us get emotionally triggered, we might say hippopotamus or something ridiculous, or I'll say, yeah, safety words. But it's really good to have that support of each other as well. So one can take the lead on the conversation if the other is slightly triggered at that moment.
Very nice. Very nice. We are up on our second break already, but I do want to hear from KK when we come back on her take on dealing with that sort of thing. So hang with us over the break here. I would encourage you to grab that pen, grab that piece of paper, and spend a little time around ways that you can think of to pull yourself back from the edge if you are triggered in a situation in the office or even at home, so you can get the space that you need without the meltdown. And hang with us. We'll be right back from the break.
Oh, checked it out, but we're here. Tech is ours and we show no fear. No fear. No fear.
Welcome back. Thank you for hanging in with us through the break. This is Sophia Morales. I am here with KT and KK. And before the break, we're discussing emotional intelligence and diffusing situations in the office. They mentioned that they have a safety word.
Or two.
to help pull each other back from the brink if things are going sideways. KK, tell me a little bit about how do you work with your emotions if you're entering into a space where someone has stomped on one of your buttons really hard. Every now and again, people identify those and nail them like they're one of your siblings.
I love that description. Yeah, I guess it's something that having the sort of relationship that Katie and I have had, I have certainly grown a lot in the time that we've been working together as well, because there's this amazing people reader who can identify very quickly and easily what other people are like, what drives them, whether there's some issue going on with them when we enter a meeting. So she very quickly sets the tone of what's happening in the room. And for me, that's been very beneficial because I don't see that. I don't have the lens through which she looks to interpret that information. So I've learnt over the time that we've been working together that to think about what might be going on for those other people a lot more than I would have initially, to understand that situations are not necessarily about what I think they are in my head or based on my experience or my perspective. And that's been a really strong growth and enlightening path for me over the last sort of 3-4 years that we've been.
Yeah. I love that realization that it's not always about your story. That word right there, your story, because we all do have this story that we're playing in our head. And what KT was talking about before we went to the break, reframing that other person's story can be really powerful after they feel like they've been heard, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
And I think that's the key, is just when somebody is being very reactive, I guess I've learnt over the time to understand that I don't need to be reactive back. It's about understanding what's causing their reaction and what's driving that, to then understand how we can help improve that situation for them and for us. So it is really, it's this light bulb moment that you have when you really do understand that. And I can't believe I made it through most of my life so far without understanding that. Like, why did people not tell me this before? So yeah, that is how I deal with them. And I take that into my personal life as much as I can, although it's not as easy when you have children.
Because like siblings, they know exactly where those buttons are.
Right. That's it. So I try my best, but definitely in a professional environment, it's a lot easier to understand if you consider people's positions, perspectives, and their experience with things can have been totally different to yours in life.
Absolutely. And I love the way you ladies have partnered up around it and recognizing that, you know what, I might need to pull one or the other back from the brink, right?
Mm. Yes. Yeah, it's a very supportive environment. And not to say that we don't ever get triggered, Zafia, but we very much recognize when it's happening. And I think we've learnt, again, not to continue being reactive in that situation as much as we can, but the other person know that's happening, steps forward and brings in that level of balance to the conversation so that things can
Exactly.
continue to
Well, and
move
I think
forward.
I think it's a really realistic kind of position, right? Because while we might aspire to never be triggered, let's be real, we have emotions. We have
Yeah.
emotions for a reason. And it's good to recognize when they have stepped into that driver's seat and maybe are taking the bus someplace we don't really want it to go.
Yes. Yeah. And again, it's a great point where you identify and self reflect personally and go, what was that reaction that I just had? What's driving that for me? So we also do a lot of that, which means that we improve every time from those experiences. So we don't see them as a bad experience, we see them as a learning experience and a way to grow as well.
Yeah, I like that. You're nodding vigorously, Katie. What do you have to add?
Oh, no, no, I don't have anything to add. I was just agreeing with KK in my own mind. I'm sitting there going, yes, girl, that's right. Yes.
That's it. That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, yes. But we're all human. We've all got those emotions. We've all got those reactions. But it has been a beautiful thing to be working with KK over the last few years for us to both have a safe space to grow and improve in that, because it's very humbling to sit back and go, oh, I wasn't reactive, where 10 years ago I might have been reactive to that. And you can have a bit of a giggle or a bit of a laugh. Yeah, it's nice.
Recognize your growth.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
think that's what I was nodding to most is, yeah, the growth that we've had has definitely been a beautiful thing.
I like that. Both of you ladies have spent a great deal of time being the numbers person. I think one of you may be more deeply than the other. But talk to me a little bit about what that experience has been with the guys around you, because again, traditionally, the numbers guys tend to be guys.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. I guess I will add my experience first and talk to where I went in my career. Being a numbers gal, I ventured into the world of what is now the big four. I think at the time was the big six, thinking that was where life was at. But it was very much run, as you say, by the men in the business. And I think there was one female partner that was in my area, and that was quite unusual. And she was only classified as a junior partner. She wasn't at the same level as the senior partners in the organization.
No, I'm going to take you back just a minute. The big four and
Sure.
the big six, tell us what that means.
So the accounting firms, so Price Waterhouse, Coopers and Lybrand, KPMG, they're the examples of some of the big firms that existed. Anderson's, which had a very big blowout across the world. But yeah, they were what a lot of people who went through and did an accounting degree aspired to go and work for one of those big accounting firms as part of their career path. But yeah, so there were some inspiring women that were a part of that journey, but it was also very much at the time, and we're going back a few years, even though Katie and I are only 20, where it was
I am also in my 30s. I hit 50 and started counting backwards. So
yeah, look, and there was definitely a boys' club that was part of that, and I don't necessarily like to use that terminology, but it certainly was where things were at back in the sort of mid-90s, especially. But thankfully, things have evolved from that point. But yeah, it is, I think, challenging as a professional female in different environments to be seen and taken seriously, having a career break, working part-time. That all impacted my career, I guess, advancement and where what people thought I was capable of, even though I'd had a career break or was only willing to work part-time. The level of opportunity that you were provided with was certainly not at the level of what you were capable of doing. So I guess that's another reason why doing what we do at Kx2 has provided both Katie and I with that opportunity to be able to use our full skill set and bring to the table what we are capable of for our clients, as opposed to being put in a box and a position where we're not allowed to I guess, draw on those things as much as we can.
Exactly. If you can't go into somebody else's C-suite, you can create your own, by gosh.
That's it. That's it.
How about you, Katie?
I was sitting here thinking about it as KK was talking then, and I have never been somebody who is impressed by names, labels, businesses, companies. So I've never gone, oh, wow, I have to be perceived to be working here with this job title because that gives me importance. My importance has never come from my job or my position. It's always been self-worth created. But the perception of what people think that gives them, because it's, to me, it's really sad, because I go, I never bought into the job titles and that. So I've never really had a level of respect for the men out there. And I do that in inverted commas because
Yes,
it's like, it's a
air
man's
quotes.
world. Well, we're going to quote, because I go, no, it has been a man. Historically, that was the situation. A lot of women stayed at home with the children, raised them, looked after the house. The man was out there working. He was the provider of the home. Now we're in a situation where the female can do that as well and bring home just as much money, if not more money, than the male counterpart. So the relationship balance has changed. So I think there's a lot of shake-up that's happening with that man's world for us women who don't like titles. And because you could just be like, I'll give you the title of CFO or A or any of these names. And KK says, I hate acronyms and I always get them wrong and I always say them wrong. But they don't fuss me. So I think you need to really draw on yourself as a person, like KK said. It's more about you as a person and what you can give, how you can serve others, that will give you the most empowerment and enjoyment in life. That seems to be what I've gravitated to, as opposed to I go to a, I don't know, Christmas party, and then all of a sudden I'm standing with the CEO, and KK goes, do you realize you're standing with the CEO? And yeah, he's an employee of this company.
Just the same as
the CEO
exactly.
title. But everyone else is, oh my God, you can't talk to him because he's the CEO. And I'm going, and I find out about his kids and his family life and what sport he plays, and because he's a human, he's just a person.
Exactly. And I think that's a beautiful shift to make in your mind. Is to downplay the title and to really cue into the person that you're interacting with, not the position that you're interacting with.
Yes.
And I find it builds your influence a lot when you can do that, because people can tell when you're being, what I want to say, overly impressed and fawning and that kind of stuff, and they don't take that seriously. But when you're legitimately connecting with someone, whether it's the CEO, the CFO, or the chief garbage can emptier, people respect you a lot more and you get a lot more out of them because you see them as people. Yeah.
Yes. Because, and again, they want to be valued. They want to be heard. They just happen to be males. There's a lot of female CEOs out there as well.
God love us, let there be more.
Power to the stilettos, I say.
Yes, absolutely. So we're down to our last couple of minutes here. What would you like your parting words to be? You've got 30 seconds, KT. Tell me, what's the takeaway?
Be true to yourself and go and conquer whatever you want to conquer.
Love it. Short and sweet. And KK, what are your parting words?
Surround yourself with people who value you, care for you, and will be your cheerleader, and you can do anything that you want.
That is awesome. And that is one thing that I've definitely embraced in my life, is making sure that I surround myself with people who are going places, who are doing the kinds of things in life that I want to be doing, like you ladies right here. Oh, that is a lovely thing. Thank you so much for joining us here today. If anyone out there would like to reach out to these ladies, I've got all of their social in the show notes on this episode, so feel free to reach out and have a conversation with them. They're good people to know. And if you are part of a corporation right now who's looking to bring in some kind of a big new tech project, you might want to have a convo with these ladies, because they will make it a success instead of the usual craziness that goes on with these kinds of initiatives. Thank you so much for joining us today, ladies. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today. And until next week, go out there, be bold, and do something amazing.